Okay, welcome everyone. We're going to be doing ratios and rates. So under ratios, these are the following topics that you need to know. Under ratios, you need to know the following. You need to be able to simplify the ratio, whatever that you'll be given. And how do we do it? We look for the highest common factor and we divide by that one. You need to be able to divide a number by a ratio. You need to be able to find the missing number when given a ratio. You need to be able to increase and decrease a number by a ratio. So we're going to be tackling these questions. So I have some few questions here that I would like us to do. I'm going to pick a few from this and then we just do them together. So the question says, simplify the following ratios. Let me do this once. So, first one, 6 is to 10. We're going to look for a number that can go into 6 and 10 without a remainder. So what will be that number? 2. Number will be 2. 2 goes into 6 how many times? 3 times. 2 goes into 10 how many times? 5 times. Is there a number that can go into 3 and 5 without a remainder? No. So that's your answer there. Another question. 9 is to 15. Look for a number that can go into 9 and 15 without a remainder. Divide both sides by 3. 3 goes into 9 how many times? 3 times. 3 goes into 15 how many times? 5 times. So almost similar, can you see? Then you ask yourself, have I simplified fully? Can I find a number that can go into 3 and 5 without a remainder? No. Okay, moving along. 36 and 20. Okay, let's look at this one. Maybe you don't know that highest common factor right away. So we're going to do trial and error. We're going to try to divide this by certain numbers until it's simplified. Let me divide both by 2. So you see, if I divide both by 2, 2 goes into that 18, 2 goes into 20, 10 times. But we can still see there's still a number that can go into both of them. We divide again by 2 by 2. 2 goes into that 9 times. 2 goes into 10, 5 times. Can you see? I've divided by 2 twice, meaning the highest common factor is 4. You take whatever that you're dividing with, you multiply it to get the highest common factor. Meaning the highest number that can go into 36 and 20 is 4. Are you getting it, guys? Let's try another one. I'll just take a few more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 24 and 12. 80 and 50. And then let me put another different question. Let's simplify 15 centimeters 300 millimeters. Okay, so let's look at this one. We're going to look at a number that can go into 24 and 12 without a remainder. So 2 can go into, 6 can go into, but I can see that 12 can go into 24 and 12. So we have to take the highest common factor. Remember, we're always looking at the highest common factor so that we get it in its simplest form. Is it clear? So I'm going to divide both sides by 12. 12 goes into 24 how many times? Twice, and then 12 goes into 12 once. So 24 is to 12 can actually be written as 1:2. So you always have to simplify, especially when you're working with ratios to solve a particular question. We always use the simplified ratio, not this one. We always simplify it before we can use it. Okay, let's look at this one. Look for a number that can go into 80 and 50 without a remainder. I'm not sure yet, but let me divide by 10. I divide by 10, I'm going to get 10 goes into 80 8 times. And then 10 goes into 50 how many times? 5 times. Then there's no other number that can go into 8 and 5 without a remainder. Except one, but it will bring us back to the same question. I hope you see it, guys. Just divide there. Let's do this one. How would you do this one? Before you solve the question, you notice that the units are not the same. So the first thing you do, you have to get the units to be the same first. And then remember our conversions. We move from there to there, from there to there, from there to there. Kilometers to meters, meters to centimeters, centimeters to millimeters. Remember, from there we multiply by 1,000, from there we multiply by 100, from there we multiply by 10. So I want to convert so that the units are the same. Before we simplify it, we have to get the same units. Remember, ratios is the definition of ratios. It's comparing two or more quantities of the same unit. So they need to be of the same unit. So I want to change this one to be millimeters. So what is the conversion? From centimeters to millimeters, we multiply by 10. So I'm going to multiply 150 multiplied by 10 to 300 millimeters. How much will that be, everyone? 150 millimeters. Is it fine now? Yes. Once it's like this, I'm going to look for a number that can go into both of them. And I hope you can all see it. It's 150. 150 goes into that once. 150 goes into 300 twice. So this is the simplified ratio. Can you see? So a question like this can be worth 3 or 4 marks because you need to first convert. You get a mark for converting, and then you get a mark for writing it in this way with the same units. You get a mark for each. Okay, then you can do as many questions as you can. You can pause the video and try to do the rest of the questions by yourself and check if you get this part. Let's go to the next part of ratios. The next part of ratios is dividing a number by a ratio. So I'm going to choose a few from this. I'm going to do a few of this and this. So we say we use the other method. The other method says the first step you need to add Then you need to divide and multiply. So you do 3 steps when you are splitting. So the first question says split, can you see, split 48 in the ratio 3:5. So let's suppose, let me write it here, split 48 into 3:5. Let's say this is money, 48 rands, and these are 2 people. You need to divide this money according to this ratio for 2 people. So we want to know how much the first person is going to get, the second person is going to get. So let's follow this. Let me break it down slowly. So step 1, we say we must add. What are we adding? We're adding the ratios. So the ratio here is 3 and 5. So I'm going to say 3 plus 5, it will give me 8. Then after adding, so add the ratios. Step 2, you need to do what? Sorry, Adam, distance divides. You need to divide. What are you dividing? You're dividing the number that you are given by the total sum of the ratios. So the sum of the ratio is 8. So I'm going to divide 48 by how much? By 8. Then I get my answer there. I divide by 8, I get a 6. In step 3, I'm going to do what? So divide the number by the ratio. Divide this number by the sum of the ratios. So this question works there, this one works for the second step. The last step is to multiply. You multiply each ratio by the number you got here. So the first ratio is 3, 3 times 6. The second ratio is 5, 5 multiplied by 6. So 3 times 6 is 18. First person is going to get 18 rands. And then the other person is going to get 30 rands. So that when we add these 2 together, they should give us this answer that you began with. When you add them up together, it should add up to the total number given. You see it, guys? They can ask it in many different ways, but basically this is what you do. Once you hear the word people must share money, must split, you must divide, you have to do the either method. Now, there's another method. You can use the other method, but this one is straightforward. Add, divide, multiply. Add, divide, multiply. Add, divide, multiply. So let me do 2 more questions. I'm going to try this one with 3 ratios. And which one? Again, this one, 28. And then I think we should be done. You're welcome. Oh, okay, let me do this one and then try to answer these 2 questions. Okay, divide. $60 into 3 is to 4 is to 5. So suppose now we're dealing with 60. Let's say a teacher brought 60 sweets. Okay, that's too much. No? Yeah, whatever. 60 sweets or pens, and he has to distribute the sweets to these people according to the ratio. Meaning, if I give the first one 3 sweets, I must give this one 4 sweets, this one 5, until I've finished all the sweets. So which method are we using? The either method. Step 1, we're going to do what? Add the ratios. So the ratio is 3 to 4 to 5. You just add them up as they are. So 9 plus 3 should be 12. Get a mark for that. And then step 2, you divide. What are you dividing? The 60 by the 12. So divide the number that you are given by the sum of the ratios. Don't forget, this number here you divide by the number there. So how much you get? It should be a 5. You get a 5. And then once you have this, step 3 is to multiply. So you're going to multiply each number there by 5. So 3 multiplied by 5, 4 multiplied by 5, and 5 multiplied by 5. This is 15. This is 20. It should be 20. This should be 25. So let's add this up together. I always do that. So it gives us 60. Can you see? Just to make sure that you're doing the right thing. Whatever that you got here, it should add up to the number that you're given. So let's read this. These are interesting questions. 3 people win 120 pounds in the lottery. They split the amount they get in the ratio 1:3:8. How much does each person get? I think this one is straightforward. So you can do it using the Adam method. Let's check the second one. John and Bon invest £3,400 in their local bank. They put the money in the ratio 3:7. So they investing this money, and they put they contributed according to this ratio. How much did each person put in? So we want to know, this is the money they put together, but they didn't contribute 50-50. They contributed according to this ratio. So the first question wants to know, how much did each person contribute? So I'm going to do it here. So how much did each person contribute? I'm going to do the other method. Step 1, we're going to add our ratios. 3:7, which is 10. Is that fine? Then step 2, divide. Divide the money they invested. So they put 3,400. I'm going to divide this by 10, and I get 340. And step 3, I multiply each ratio. The ratio is 3:7. I multiply each ratio by the number here. 340 multiplied by 3, 340 multiplied by 7. Then this is going to tell me which one contributed how much. 340 multiplied by 3. So, yay. This one contributed that 2,380 pounds. When you add this up together, it should give you 3,400, which is fine. Now, I want to show you something. John and Bob. So, the order is going to be the order of the ratio. So, John and Bob. So, meaning the ratio for John is 3, the ratio for Bob is 3. It's 7. So, meaning who contributed this amount? It's John. And who contributed the bigger amount? It's Bon. It's very important because they say how much did each person put in. So if they gave you the names, it's very important to conclude and say, therefore, John contributed 1,020 and Bon contributed 2,380. It's very important to conclude because they gave you the names. So if they didn't give you the names, that's fine. But if they gave you the names, you need to follow up the question. And then let's continue. So the question continues. It says, after a year, the money accrues interest. It grows because they're investing. They withdraw this amount and they split the money in the same ratio. How much do they both now get? Now the money they put grew to 6,200 pounds. Now they need to split the money according to the ratio. So the same thing applies. We're going to now do the same thing. Step 1, add the ratios. See how many questions we're doing. I hope you are also practicing there. 622 divided by 10. And that'll be 620, 620 multiplied by 3, 620 multiplied by 7. Whatever amount we get here is for John, whatever amount we get here is for Bon. So please do that. 620 multiplied by 3, 1,000 that. 1,040. So that is how much they're getting. So are we all clear so far? Okay, let's continue. Let's do the last question. The last question, they say an estate is shared between Tom, and Thomas in the ratio 2:3:5. So the order is going to tell us the order of the ratio. So our ratio is 2:3:5. They say if Tom received 2,400 pounds, how much did the others get? So they are only telling us, read the question carefully, they are not giving us the amount they are splitting. They are only telling us that Tom, the first one, got 2,400. So we need to calculate we need to calculate how much Tom and Thomas are getting from the estate. So we're going to do the same way, the way we're doing it. What is the first step? The first step is to add the ratios. 2 plus 3 plus 5, which is 5 plus 5, which is 10. Are we all clear? Then, step 2. Step 2, we were going to do what? Divide a number. So we don't know how much is the estate. But we do what? We divide that portion by 10. Does it make sense? And then, this becomes the number because we don't know what is their estate, how much they shared. So this becomes our answer. In step 3, we multiply whatever we get with the ratio. So the first one we're going to multiply it by 2, the second one we're going to multiply it by 3, and so forth and so forth. So let me show you. We're going to say 2 multiplied by x divided by 10. So minus multiply that by 2. Whatever that we get here for the first ratio, will be the share for Tom. But already they told us how much he's getting. So I'm going to say whatever that we multiply here has to work out to that. Is it clear? So we're going to solve for the unknown. We want to know what is that value of the estate. So it's basic. Once it's here, we do the inverse operation. So I'm going to start with this one. What is the inverse operation of multiplication? Is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. Then this way it goes away. 2 divided by 2 is 1. I'm left with x divided by 10. Here I'm going to put it on the calculator. 2,400 divided by 2. It's 1,200. Right? What is the inverse operation of division? Is multiplication. So here I'm going to do what? I'm going to multiply both sides by 10. This and this is going to go away. And then here you multiply, you get 1,200. 12,000, sorry. So the estate's value is 12,000. 12,000. You could have done it in another method. You could have said here, whatever the amount is for the estate multiplied by 2 over 10, which is 2,400. 2 over 10, how do we get this? This is the ratio for Tom, this is the sum of the ratio. Then if you want x, what are you going to do? If you want x to be alone, you divide both sides by 2 over 10, divide by 2 over 10. Then we're looking for the value of x, 2,400 divided by fraction 2 over 10. And it will give you 12,000. So whichever way you would have done it, it should give you the value of the estate. And then once we're there, it's easy. I'm going to multiply the second ratio, 3 multiplied by x. So I'm going to multiply, no, I can even take it from there. Whatever I have here, I can put it here. So 12,000 divided by 10 will give me 1.2. So I multiply 1.2 by 3 to get what Tom will get. And then I multiply 4. What is the other ratio? 5. The ratio is 5. I multiply by 1,200 to get the ratio for Thomas. So 3 multiplied by that, it's 3,600. So that's how much he's getting the share. And then this one's share, it's times 5, it's 6,000. Such that when you add up everything, it should give you 12,000. So you can do it so that we save time. Moving along, guys, let's do increasing and decreasing a ratio. And decrease a number by a ratio. So the formula is straightforward. If you are increasing a number by a ratio, you're going to take that number, you multiply it by the bigger number over the smaller number. So we're going to be given a ratio, and then from that ratio you need to take the bigger number, make it a numerator, take the smaller number, make it a denominator. So we make a fraction. We take a ratio and then we form what? We form a fraction from the ratio in this format. So for example, let's say we are given 2:7. If I say put it in this format, what will be the fraction? 7 over 2. The bigger one goes on top, the smaller one goes at the bottom. That's for increasing. And then if we are decreasing a number, you take the number, you multiply it by the inverse. The smaller number becomes the numerator, and the bigger number becomes the denominator. So decrease. Sorry about that. So let's pick few questions. Pick few questions from the textbook. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Let me do a few. No? Let me do two for each because this is just straightforward. So the first one says increase 45 in the ratio 5:9. So what are we going to do when we are increasing? We're going to say the number multiplied by, we form a fraction from this ratio, 9/5. You get a mark for this and then you write it on your, press it on the calculator. Don't stress about it. Use a calculator to give you the answer. It's 81, just like that. And then let's try another one. Increase 63 in the ratio 9:11. So we say number, the number 63 multiplied by 11/9. How much will that be? 77. So it should make sense to you. We are increasing, so we should get a bigger number here because we are increasing. And then for decrease, right here, decrease 84 and the ratio 12:5. So 84, now the fraction flips. The bigger one goes on top, which is 5/12. So 84 multiplied by 5/12. And then you write your answer like 35. So the number has to decrease. If they are saying a price of a certain item is being decreased in this ratio, meaning that will be the new answer. So it should go down, it should decrease. Okay, the last portion. Decrease 32 in the ratio 3:4. So what will be the answer for that one? 32 multiplied by 3/4. So 32 multiplied by 3/4. Am I right? What's wrong? 24. Okay, I hope that's correct. Just check. Alright, moving along. We should do the last part, how to find the missing number. So when given a ratio, you should be able to find the missing number. Let me check if there are questions on the book here. Okay. Finding the missing number, they will give you something like this. The ratio 2:5 and 10:x. And you're supposed to find the missing number. So what do? You're going to take this one and then bring it underneath this one. It's going to be 10:x. And then you're going to look at what is given. From 2 to 5, we're either multiplying or dividing with ratios. So you're going to check. The number is getting bigger, so it means we are multiplying. We are multiplying by what? By 5. 5 multiplied by 2 will give us a 10, meaning if I'm looking for this, I have to do what? Multiply by the same number. So what you do this side, you must do that side. meaning the value of x is 5 multiplied by this, because we're multiplying both sides. So the answer there is 25. Hope you all get it. Okay, another question. 2 is to 3, 6 is to n. Let's try another one here. 2 is to 5, 12 is to x. So I'm going to do a cross multiplication method on 1. Then I'm going to do this method. So look here. From here, we're multiplying by what? By 3. 3 times 2 will give you a 6. So if I'm looking for this missing value, I need to multiply by the same number and multiply with there. So n will be 3 multiplied by 3, which is 9. It's like equivalent ratios. And this one here, you can do it two ways. You can do the cross multiplication, multiply that and that, you get a 60. Multiply the 2, you get x. And then divide both sides by that, we get 30. X should be 30. Or let's try it this way. From 2 to 12, we multiply by what? By 6. Meaning if I'm looking for the value of x, I need to multiply by 6 also. 5 multiplied by 6. The answer is 30. Okay. Is that correct, guys? Okay, let's go on. Yeah, I think so far we've covered everything. So if you have any question, you can maybe post it. But just from now on, just do as many questions as possible to cover this. I'm going to do a quick short one for rates. And then if you have any question, you can ask. I'm going to do the following separate video on rates so that this video doesn't become so long. Okay guys, thank you and bye.